We're turning to a big business, a big deal on this merger Monday. Medtronic buying rival medical device maker Covidien, which is based in Ireland. It's a huge deal, $43 billion. And Medtronic is getting something very big along with this deal, the ability to move its head office to Dublin, Ireland, and escape huge corporate tax bills here in the U.S. So let's bring in Mattie Duppler with Americans for Tax Reform. Mattie, looking at this situation, how it stands right now, is this a win for Medtronic?
Well, it certainly is in the sense that when we have businesses that are domiciled in the United States, they're essentially penalized by our corporate tax code. We have one of, if not the highest corporate tax rate in the developed world, and at the same time, we are really one of the only countries that double taxes income that's earned abroad. So right now, if you're an employer, you're looking to expand, you're looking to acquire more companies or more bandwidth, whatever it is, you're asking yourself, how can I maximize my profits? How can I continue to have a profitable business? And unfortunately, the answer, because of our corporate tax rate, is to move out of the United States.
Well, I'm looking at some of the other countries here, and we can show you other countries and their tax rates according to the OECD and according to the Tax Foundation. The U.S. really does rank very highly. Ireland at 12.5%, the OECD average 25%. How much do state taxes have to do with this larger landscape of the tax debate for corporations?
Well, the thing you have to remember is that, unlike a lot of other European countries, we have a state corporate tax rate that is added on top of the federal one. So that adds anywhere from 5 to 7 percentage points on top of the federal tax rate. So companies, when they're looking at their tax burden here, have two layers they really have to consider. That's why we're seeing all these decisions that come out of Washington affectionately driving these companies out of the United States, because all these considerations with the corporate income tax rate, with the fact that if they're even already located abroad trying to bring profits back, that they're going to be taxed twice. But the slew of new tax hikes coming on top of Obamacare, other decisions coming out of Washington are really starting to harm businesses. And you're talking about a decision today made by a medical device maker. There is a specific tax in the healthcare law that targets these device makers, and this tax is a tax on top of gross receipts. It's not just a tax that you pay if you make a profit. It's a tax you make it's a tax you have to pay when you make a sale. So some of these companies, even if they're operating on razor-thin margins, are still beholden to this huge tax on their industry, and that's why a lot of these companies are making these decisions to try and survive.
Well, just recently, Mattie, the OECD came forward and recommended that the United States retool not only its tax code, but also look at corporate tax rates. What I also want to point out to you is there's a big amount of money that could be taxed. We're looking at $1.95 trillion of money that is overseas, and if you compare that to 2013, that's up 12%. So looking at the trend, and if you look at AstraZeneca and the Pfizer discussions that happened not too long ago, what do you think in terms of the rest of this year and all these big mergers we're seeing?
Well, right now, we need a Washington that recognizes that our companies here operate in a global economy. And we need to be asking, our policymakers need to be asking what we can do to not only entice companies to stay here, but entice companies to invest here. Because right now, with healthcare, with financial reform, with all the spending and taxes coming out of D.C., companies don't see this as a feasible option to stay here or to invest here. So what you're talking about is profits that could be used to be invested back here in the United States. Right now, because of the way our tax system operates, if you're a company that wants to bring that money back, you're going to be taxed twice. You're going to be taxed in the country in which you are based, and then you're going to be taxed in the United States when you try to bring it back. So any rational business actor is going to ask why they want to have their profits subject to that kind of double taxation. And if we really want to be looking at ways to entice job creators to stay here, to really have the economy growing, we should be looking exactly at how we tax corporate profits and try to make this a more welcoming environment for businesses and employers.
But Mattie, if you look at the global economy, there are still some reasons, despite high taxes, to be in the U.S. A lot of companies and CEOs I've talked to have said the protection of intellectual property and major reasons like that that have a price tag that's really priceless. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. And the United States is still one of the greatest countries in the world. No one's not arguing that. The question is, will we continue to stay as competitive as we possibly can be? And right now, the trend is away from that. The trend is to try and keep companies, either keep them here using punitive measures. You hear a lot of fulminating out of Washington about companies that are trying to keep their profits at least where they are right now and not go lower. You know, a lot of politicians see that as a bad thing. But also looking at the protections that we offer employers here and the opportunities that we offer workers here, certainly heads and shoulders above a lot of the rest of the world. The question is whether or not that trend will continue. And unfortunately, what we're seeing is a lot of decisions coming out of Washington that seem to want to discourage businesses from continuing to invest here and create those new opportunities rather than encourage them.
Well, certainly a big short-term versus long-term debate. Mattie Duppler,
Sure.
Thank you so much